We're still remembering how to do this each year. So this is Jack's cup for the last session. Jack, could you please? Hooray! Amazing. Okay, and now I'll introduce the next session. Maddie is a mentor at the Lab, a safe and supportive space for autistic teenagers with an interest in technology. Maddie helps these teens gain confidence and build independence as they experiment with various tools. She's also an active member of the Girls Programming Network and works as a developer for Kumo Study. She has many hats. Maddie will share her reflections on creative and inclusive learning environment. Can we welcome Maddie, please?
Hello, PyCon. I'm Maddie Mackey, as you've heard, and I work with an organization called The Lab to provide weekly sessions in a makerspace at a public library for autistic teenagers who love technology. At The Lab, things run a little bit differently to a traditional classroom or a workshop. The way we set up the room, structure the session, interact with the students is all decided through the lens of creating an autism-inclusive learning environment. So, I'll be sharing with you some of the things that we consider when running a lab session, as well as my experiences. Hopefully this will give you some ideas to take into your own learning spaces that will make it easier for neurodiverse students. So, let's start off with some of the facts about autism. Autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, is a complex neurodevelopmental condition which impacts a person lifelong. The symptoms are varied and can affect different individuals to different degrees. They are characterized by difficulties in social interactions, communication, atypical patterns of behaviors or activities, a focus on details, and unusual reactions to different sensations. Some examples of these behaviors include a difficulty transitioning between tasks, restricted or repetitive behaviors and interests, or oversensitivity or undersensitivity to sounds or smell or touch. This can lead to heightened emotional responses to changes in their environment and also behavioral challenges. According to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, there were 290,000 recorded diagnoses of autistic Australians in 2022. That is a 41.8% increase from the 205,000 in 2018. This increase in diagnosis is most prominent in age groups under 25. In 2022, 4.3% of kids under 14 have been diagnosed with autism. Thanks to the improved access to vaccinations, we're seeing a rise in the number of children diagnosed with autism. This being thanks to the decreased rates of child mortality and due to better understanding of neurodiversity and diagnosis of it, and not some unscientific correlation between vaccines and a perfectly healthy evolutionary variation. But I'm not here to qualify the reasons why we have improved awareness and understanding of autism. Autism always has and always will continue to exist in our communities. And one of the benefits of that is that as our understanding of autism grows, our understanding of how we can better support the needs of autistic people also grows. So, The Lab. This is a non-profit, nationwide initiative that provides a welcoming environment for autistic teenagers who love technology. It consists of unstructured sessions in a welcoming environment and gives them the chance to hang out with like-minded peers and have access to mentors with professional experience in technology. The lab where I am a mentor is hosted in a makerspace at a public library in Rhodes in Sydney. And by holding our lab sessions in the makerspace, we are able to provide participants access to tools like 3D printing, laser cutting, and die cutting, as well as general crafting resources. And all of these are free for our attendees to use. The lab's goal is to provide a safe space where young people on the autism spectrum can develop these skills, both social and technical, gain confidence, and pursue their technical and creative passions. Each location that the lab is run at will vary on what resources and what type of session they provide, as well as the approach to how they run it in general. At my location, the other mentors and I view it as a social club first and foremost. So we set our main focus on prioritizing the group interacting with one another and having fun over the educational elements which are secondary. And this is the first of the considerations that I make when making an autism-inclusive environment. Throughout the session, I am constantly scanning the room and talking to the participants to make sure that each individual is having fun. And the easiest way to help a participant who isn't having fun is by knowing what they like and integrating it into the session. The challenge here lies in them feeling comfortable enough to open up to us in the first place and let us know what they enjoy. So, what do we do to build trust? Well, whenever we have a new participant, the first thing we do is check their sign-up form and look at what their interests are based on what the notes are in their application. It's probably a good time to mention that we actually run 2 labs a week. One of them is for participants aged 15 plus, and ones that have interests better suited for a makerspace environment, such as electronics, crafting, and 3D printing. And the second one we run is for participants aged 10 plus, or that have interests in video games like Minecraft and Roblox. By having 2 different groups with focuses on different technologies, we're able to help the participants be in a place where they know they'll have shared interests. And this also means that they go into the lab with the mentors already having a bit of an insight into the things that they find fun. But parents don't always exactly know what their kids like. So we find that the most effective way to figure this out is to sit down and talk to the kid. At the start of a new session with a new participant, we'll start them off by giving them a little tour of the space, and we find that this is a great time to gauge if they're interested in trying any of the tools or creating certain things. And we have a section in the makerspace with example projects from other programs we have examples of laser cut or 3D printed and created things, and sometimes this helps to plant a seed of inspiration. After showing them around, we'll give them a seat and encourage them to get set up with their own device or offer to let them use the ones that we provide at the library, and just tell them to make themselves comfortable. As an unstructured program, we don't have a strict agenda for the sessions, and we encourage the participants to use the technology in the space for, well, whatever they've brought. Really, the lab is participant-led, where they have agency over what they spend their time doing. Sometimes they'll play games, sometimes they'll do schoolwork, and sometimes they'll just work on projects or chill out and chat to their friends. We give them a freedom that students don't often get in organized social groups, and this not only builds trust, but also helps to give us a chance to see what they like to do when given that freedom. With about 1 mentor to every 4 to 6 students, along with the unstructured approach to the sessions, it means that we can focus on the individual needs of each participant. We'll move throughout the room in any given session and talk to the participants, ask them about their day and what they're up to. And this is one of the ways we learn about their interests. Many autistic people also experience depression, anxiety, and other mental health conditions, which can make it extremely daunting and difficult to open up. And a lot of the time, we will find that participants aren't immediately forthcoming or trusting of us, especially with us being the adult or authority figure in the room. That's where the lab being a social group really gets to shine. Many of the participants come to the lab because they want to meet new people, learn about more technology, develop their social skills, make friends, and talk to people who are interested in those same things as them. So as a mentor guiding the session, we will center the conversation around technology, such as by joining them in playing games they love, like Roblox and Minecraft and Jackbox games. And this joint play in a creative virtual environment helps to build trust between the attendees and each other, as well as the mentors and the attendees. Over time, we see that our participants will start to collaborate more and more, either by talking about the games that they enjoy or by playing and building and adventuring together during the session. We've had even participants join Minecraft worlds together and share the Minecraft mods that they've made, share games they've built using Python and Pygame, and share websites that they've built. The shared play and information exchange that is driven by these activities is particularly important given the large number of students who are homeschooled, as well as those who have a hard time building friendships with their neurotypical schoolmates. The emphasis that we place on encouraging social activities complements our unstructured approach that we take when running a session of the lab. For kids who experience anxiety or who are potentially oppositional to being told what to do, we find that their confidence and trust increases significantly when given independence in an expectation-free environment. Participants have gone from barely speaking for an entire session to running games for the entire group, like Dungeons and Dragons or social games like Mafia. And they reach a point where they can communicate and share their interests and ideas, whether they be serious or silly, knowing that they are welcome in that space. The lack of structure also has another benefit, and that is that a participant can come to the lab without any expectation of them having to achieve something during that session. They will be welcomed in the lab on their good days and their bad days. And by not imposing a rigid structure or academic expectation, the lab provides support for its participants no matter what their mood is, energy levels, or the experiences they've had in their day-to-day environment. Once we are able to identify what really makes a participant click and genuinely sparks their interest, that's when we come up with the ideas for projects and help to encourage them to use the technology. And that's where the challenge for us as mentors really changes. Now it's about inspiring a project, kickstarting it, and supporting it through to completion. Sometimes the tour around the space is enough for a student to get some ideas of things they'd like to build, and other times it is the support of their peers and shared interests that can help to drive that. So one of the few pieces of structure that we do provide at the lab is an optional show and tell platform at the start of each session. The platform is open to both participants and the mentors to show off things that they've been working on recently, or things that might not fit into the regular lab activities like playing games or project time. Sometimes it's also just because it's really fun to show off your work, less so to one person at a time and much more to be able to present to a big group of people all at once. And I can speak from experience, practicing this speech with my partner yesterday does not compare to presenting it to all of you here at PyCon right now. And yeah, having you all hang on my every word is a much bigger boost to my ego. Some of the more naturally social students will thrive with that opportunity to show everyone what they've been working on, no matter if it's coding-related musical interests or their latest YouTube video. We are happy to boost their viewer count. But show and tell doesn't just give the students a platform to share and brag. It also gives the students a chance to get ideas from the projects that they all work on. And when the mentors are presenting, we actually use this opportunity to teach them by stealth of different things that they can learn or things that we can teach them. It's a way that the mentors are not offering, forcing, or interjecting ourselves into the projects of the participants if they don't want us to be there. But instead, we open up a natural dialogue and potential collaboration, which is driven by the participants. The other advantage of this approach is that everyone becomes fully aware of the many skills and the passions that we all as a group share. They learn that their mentors also enjoy things related to their interests, further breaking down the barrier in building trust. Ultimately, mentor involvement in show and tell helps to flatten the sense of hierarchy among the group. And this is one of the key factors that differentiates the lab from a school environment. Our mentors are not really like teachers. They are there that the participants can talk to as equals. So once they're inspired and want to work on a project or learn a new skill, autistic students may run into unique pitfalls and challenges. A common one is losing interest, either due to being intimidated or the unknowns that they need to learn, or by being unable to achieve a tangible result in a short period of time. This is especially noticeable due to the lab sessions only being 2 hours long. If they want to work on 3D printing something, most of that time is actually going to have to be between the sessions, just due to the amount of time it takes to 3D print something. And that's not accounting for the time we need to spend sitting down and teaching them how to model. So when a student is tackling an ambitious project, the first step we take is laser focusing their scope and breaking it down into small, achievable, quick wins. It really helps to keep them motivated if early on that they can see the correlation between the prototype and the end product that they want to create. This can be especially challenging when a student doesn't have prior experience in the tools. Fortunately, the library has pre-made tutorials for all of the software that we provide on the library computers, and instructions for basic projects with the hardware that we have in the makerspace. These are written for general makerspace users and have the assumption that they have no experience. And all of them have a simple end product that can be created within roughly a 2-hour time frame, which is the length of most of the workshops we run at the library. These have been an invaluable resource to us for participants at the lab, as it gives them the chance to work on something at their own pace without having us as the mentors kind of looking over their shoulder and guiding them through every click. And it always gives them a finished product at the end of it in a short time frame, and it's very rewarding. We've particularly seen a lot of success with this with the shyer students who maybe don't quite trust the mentors yet, as well as students who are self-driven. On one hand, having clear instructions can really help some neurodiverse students, but on the other, some students will have a clear picture in mind of a unique thing that they want to create, something that isn't necessarily written down in our tutorials or resources. So catering our materials and support per student is extremely important in engaging them. And one of the pitfalls that the latter group easily falls into is that point in a project where you realize you don't know what you don't know, when you realize that there's a lot more to learn before you can do the things that you want to do. And this is a natural part of learning almost any skill, but it can be extremely discouraging. And it kills many great projects before they even really get started. Unfortunately, overcoming discouraging factors like this can be extremely difficult for neurodivergent people. With executive dysfunction that comes with autism and other neurodivergence, it means that any hurdle can appear insurmountable. So during the lab session itself, we do our best to eliminate any of those blockers up front. We do this by working closely with them when they are first exploring a new topic and providing pathways for any resources that they might need, and then giving them resources that they can take home with them. All of this helps to ease the experiences of learning new skills and projects for autistic students. It is vital to remember that there is not a one-size-fits-all solution to anything when it comes to neurodivergence. And at the end, oops, sorry, I missed my spot. Ultimately, our job is really about listening to the unique needs of each student. We help them in identifying the things that are impacting them and encouraging them to find ways that they can overcome these hurdles themselves. Whether it be by using the productivity or organization tools, or reducing overstimulation in their environment, or by having us just ask and check in on them every week and see how they're going. I cannot understate how impactful it is for a kid to just have an adult who genuinely cares and understands the things that they are working on. At the end of each session, we write up notes about each student, documenting if they faced any challenges in their day, and this has been incredibly helpful for us as mentors to stay on top of how each participant is going, and not just for the project work. In the past, it's also been incredibly helpful for us to identify antisocial behaviors and to be able to then take those notes and then talk to their parents or caregivers about them and find the next steps in supporting them in adjusting those behaviors. It also means that we can look back at previous sessions and see if there's any old projects or ideas that we haven't toyed with in a while that we might be able to bring back up to reignite. As I mentioned, like our other workshops, the lab is only 2 hours of time each week. So unfortunately, we can't always help the students to thoroughly explore new concepts. So a lot of the resources that we rely on are digital, free to download, and accessible over the internet. Our aim is to get them neck deep in the project as easily as possible, which we do by giving them the jumping board at the lab and then getting them up and running as quickly as possible, ideally on their own personal device, and then by empowering them with the knowledge to find where more resources that they can use at home are. Hypersensitivity to sensory inputs in everyday environments can be extremely challenging for autistic individuals. Specific types of changes in stimuli, such as noise, light, texture, smells, and other senses, can lead to discomfort, avoidance, reduced awareness, and ultimately a heightened emotional response. At the lab, we take a lot of care in making our environment as low sensory as possible and as comfortable as possible. When setting up, we dim the lights as low as possible. We'll often close the blinds as well to reduce the afternoon glare from the sunlight. And one of the common challenges that arises out of this is that a lot of makerspace tools can require clear, bright lighting. So to overcome this, we provide smaller desk lamps on workbenches around the sides of the room, so if a participant needs them, they can go and use them. Low scent and reducing smells is a particularly interesting challenge for a makerspace too, as many of the tools that we have produce significant odors. Markers, glue, soldering iron, and especially our laser cutter all produce a lingering odor that can cause headaches and respiratory issues at worst. That said, our makerspace is up to code. We do have the proper ventilation and filtration required. However, it can still linger and stick around, particularly for students who are particularly sensitive to those kind of odors. So earlier in the year, we went and put a lot of effort into including scent-absorbing rocks, very mild scented reeds in areas that have a bad smell, and most importantly, we created a policy and a schedule that means that we cannot use the laser cutter or particularly odorous tools within 2 hours before any kind of session, not just the lab. And this gives the odors enough time to fully ventilate and fade, and has been extremely successful in improving the comfort for all of the participants, not just the lab. In terms of sounds in the makerspace, we always set up a relaxing lo-fi music in the background, usually at a very low volume. We'll pick video game soundtracks and ask for recommendations from the kids as well. And we also provide headphones for students if they wish to listen to something else or block out the noise. I have mentioned this, actually, I think I have, yes. The younger group that we run is focused more on video games. And we actually run it in a different space of the library. It's not actually run in the makerspace itself. It's actually run in a bit of a larger meeting room. And one of the huge benefits of this is that we have a little corner off to the side that we can use where we can turn off the lights separately. We then create a low sensory corner in this area. We cover the ground with blankets, pillows, stuffed animals, and we lay out a box of stimming toys. And this has been particularly helpful for participants on days where they felt overwhelmed or needed a space to ground themselves and to relax. And it has avoided disastrous emotional reactions on more than one occasion. But this space and its resources are helpful in running the day-to-day lab as well. When we notice a participant is becoming overstimulated or needs an outlet for hyperactivity, we can use these resources to help them regulate. The first step for us as mentors is noticing the behavior. And this can include repetitive movements, increased volume, or heightened anxiety. When we notice these behaviors, ideally, we want to help provide an outlet to them without distracting the rest of the group or drawing our attention to it. This is both to allow the group members who are sensitive or easily overwhelmed to maintain their calmness, but also so that we don't embarrass or put the overstimulated student on the spot. We don't want to single them out. So what we'll do is then go grab some of the stimming toys from the box. These are low distraction toys, aren't noisy, and don't have any flashing lights on them. And then we distribute them amongst the whole group, as well as starting to use them ourselves. And while the calmer students sometimes place them to the side and just continue with whatever they were doing, we were able to engage the overstimulated students through inclusive group activity. This leverages the positive socialization of the group to support the participants who need it, as well as normalizing it for everyone else, which over time helps everyone in the group. Another issue that often arises out of accommodating sensory conditions is that it is possible for autistic people to have contradictory needs. Some people prefer lots of light, some people need dim light. And by providing the resources in this space that mean each participant can adjust the environment to their needs, it means making the space readily available for all of them and gives them the agency to participate and universally normalizes accommodating for your own needs. We do this at the lab by having lamps and headphones and masks available, but it is something we constantly are working on trying to improve in our space. One of the constant through lines in everything I've talked about today is that supporting autistic students requires high awareness and empathy. And improving our understanding of neurodivergence is something that we should all be striving to do always, because it is something that our understanding of is changing always. The key is to keep an open mind and to approach this with empathy. In that same vein, every neurodiverse person is going to experience it differently. Some may face challenges with communicating but have no sensory issues, and others might experience fixations but have no anxiety. It can vary immensely from person to person. Being prepared for unconventional ways of communicating is one thing we keep in mind. For example, difficulty with eye contact is common in autistic people, and so if we know a participant struggles with this, we might come sit next to them and work on our own things when we try to engage with them. Some autistic people also struggle with communication in general, have speech irregularities, or can be nonverbal. So it's important for us to understand that silence isn't always a sign of rudeness or ignoring, as they also might just be working really hard and hyper-focusing and blocking out all external noises. Even if I ask questions about the project that they're working on, sometimes I just don't get a response. In that case, I'll just give them some time, walk away and wait and observe and watch for a break and see when is the best time to try and talk to them. These sorts of barriers, especially in a social group, highlight why it is vital for us to have open communication with their parents and carers. They are often able to give us a deeper insight into the methods that they use that might also work in the lab. And being a social group, navigating interpersonal conflict between the participants is inevitable. Fortunately, these incidents are rare, and one of the tools that we rely on to smooth things over is bringing back our focus to the shared interests. By relating these similarities, we're able to reinforce their connection, and after all, one less person on the game server is just not as fun. Something else that we found helpful is having assigned seating. We create name tags for our participants using die cutters and encourage them to customize and get crafty with it. But this isn't just about self-expression. It also significantly helps to alleviate anxiety in the group. And for some autistic people, having this sort of clear social structure helps to relieve the social pressures. This is also one of the benefits of having dedicated mentors in the lab. Having adults in the room who are consistent and can maintain the trust between sessions helps to put social structure in an otherwise very unstructured group. And it's just one more way we can help them to feel more comfortable. That said, I am extremely grateful to my coworkers who have filled in for me this week so that I could come to PyCon and do this talk. Now, I understand that a lot of the things I've spoken about today are like having an unstructured session and having such a high mentor-student ratio are things that a program with no curriculum can afford. A lot of these require long-term, high-investment commitments to the students that you're working with, and opening up the dialogue with the parents and support workers can help to alleviate this for everyone. Anything that you can do to make your environment more inclusive for autistic people is a step in the right direction. And building their confidence makes them open to trying new things and stepping outside of their comfort zone. And this can increase the effectiveness of their learning. All of this leans on trust. Build it with your students, allow them to open up to you, and you will learn that you can personalize their learning objectives to make it more effective for them. It can be challenging to help support people through the ups and downs, but the payoff is worth it. And while the formula at the lab takes time, when our participants are given independence, trust, and support, they will feel a sense of belonging. And this will snowball into improving their confidence and their ability to connect with others. The lab has been running for a few years now, and in that time, we've seen a few participants come and go and come out of their shells. And one parent commented that the lab is much more than mentorship with technology, that it is a place where a child can feel safe to be themselves, something that is essential for our young neurodivergent community. And while it is sad to see our participants eventually age out of the program and leave the nest when they feel ready, it's rewarding to know that these kids can now go out into the world with tools better to handle it. By reflecting on how our educational environments can accommodate people with different needs and abilities, we foster a neurodivergent-friendly learning environment with improved accessibility for learning for not just autistic people, but for people who may not have even previously realized that they work better with different accommodations for their comfort. After all, accessibility for one is accessibility for all.